The silence from the Mickelson camp has been deafening for months. 6 missed majors, a family health crisis that pulled him off the course, a club membership revoked, sponsors fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. Then, the bombshell allegation, a lewd photo, an unwanted advance, the ex-wife of a fellow golfer speaking out for the first time. The golf world waited for Phil Mickelson to respond. And then, from the shadows of a Travelers Championship that was hemorrhaging corporate partners, he finally spoke. Not with anger, not with denial, with a warning that left the PGA Tour's leadership scrambling for cover. They're walking away because they know what's coming. The golf world is stunned, and the chaos at TPC River Highlands is just beginning.
The date was June 30th, 2026. The Travelers Championship at TPC River Highlands was supposed to be a celebration, a $20 million signature event, the final one of the PGA Tour season, with 49 of the top 50 players in the world teeing it up. Instead, it had become the epicenter of a crisis that had been building for months. The sponsors were walking away, not all of them, not yet, but the whispers had become a roar. Rocket Mortgage had already announced it would not renew its sponsorship after the 2026 season. The Charles Schwab Challenge was on life support. And now, Travelers, the tournament's title sponsor since 2007, was being forced to answer uncomfortable questions about its association with a sport in turmoil. The chaos was not about the tournament. It was about the man who had once been the face of professional golf, Phil Mickelson. For months, the 6-time major winner had been invisible. He had withdrawn from the Masters in April, citing a personal health matter with his family. He had pulled out of the PGA Championship in May. He had missed the US Open. He had withdrawn from the Open Championship, marking the first time he would skip all 4 majors in a single season since turning professional. And then came the allegations that changed everything. On June 11, 2026, Golf Digest published an explosive report. Mickelson had been kicked out of the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California, after a female employee accused him of non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact. Club officials investigated, tracked him down mid-round, and escorted him off the property. His membership was revoked. This individual is no longer a member of the Farms Golf Club, the club said in a statement. The golf world was stunned, but worse was yet to come. 2 weeks later, on June 26, 2026, Scratch published a bombshell report by Alan Shipnook. Ashley Perez, the estranged wife of fellow golfer Pat Perez, alleged that Mickelson had made unwanted sexual advances towards her at the 2015 Barclays tournament. According to the report, Mickelson had invited the Perezes to stay at his private villa near Liberty National. While Pat Perez excused himself, Mickelson allegedly took out his phone and showed Ashley a nude photograph of himself with an erection. Then he suggested she visit his bedroom later that evening. The allegations were devastating. The timing was catastrophic. The sponsors that had once...
The warning from Phil Mickelson hung in the air like a storm cloud over TPC River Highlands. They're walking away because they know what's coming. The words were cryptic, deliberate, and they sent a chill through the PGA Tour's corporate partners. The first domino had fallen years earlier, long before the Travelers Championship descended into chaos. In 2022, after Mickelson's explosive comments about the PGA Tour's obnoxious greed and his defection to LIV Golf, the sponsors had started to flee. KPMG, his longtime corporate partner since 2008, ended its relationship with him. KPMG US and Phil Mickelson have mutually agreed to end our sponsorship effective immediately, the company said in a statement. Amstel Light followed suit. Workday said it would not be renewing its contract. Callaway paused its partnership. The man who had once been one of the most marketable athletes in the world was suddenly a liability. But the chaos of the Travelers Championship wasn't just about Mickelson's personal sponsors. It was about the entire structure of professional golf. Rocket Mortgage had already announced it would not renew its sponsorship of the Rocket Classic in Detroit after the 2026 tournament. After nearly 13 years as a PGA Tour title sponsor, including 8 years in Detroit, 2026 will mark the final Rocket Classic, tournament director Mark Hollis said in a statement. The Charles Schwab Challenge, one of the most historic stops on the tour, was facing an uncertain future. The Travelers Championship itself, a signature event with a $20 million purse, was being forced to answer uncomfortable questions about its association with a sport in turmoil. The scandal surrounding Mickelson had made the situation even worse. The Golf Digest report that Mickelson had been kicked out of the Farms Golf Club after a female employee accused him of non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact had dominated headlines for weeks. The Farms had been unequivocal. This individual is no longer a member of the Farms Golf Club. And then came the bombshell from Alan Shipnick's report on Scratch. Ashley Perez, the estranged wife of fellow golfer Pat Perez, alleged that Mickelson had made unwanted sexual advances towards her at the 2015 Barclays tournament. According to the report, Mickelson had taken out his phone and shown her a nude photograph of himself with an erection, then suggested she visit his bedroom later that evening. The sponsors that had once lined up to associate with Mickelson were gone, and now the PGA Tour itself was feeling the ripple effects. The Travelers Championship, the final signature event of the season, was being overshadowed by a scandal that had nothing to do with the golf being played on the course. As the tournament unfolded at TPC River Highlands, the contrast was impossible to ignore. On one side of the course, the PGA Tour was celebrating its $20 million event, with 49 of the top 50 players in the world teeing it up. On the other side,
the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California, is the kind of place where the ultra-wealthy hide behind gated entrances and manicured hedges. It's a private haven where some of golf's biggest names are members. But on a spring day in 2026, the club's tranquility was shattered by an incident that would make headlines around the world. According to the Golf Digest report, Mickelson approached a female employee in the clubhouse and made an overture that she immediately rejected. She reported the incident to her supervisors. Club officials investigated, tracked Mickelson down mid-round on the course, and escorted him off the property. His membership was revoked. The club's response was swift and decisive. Following a staff member report of member misconduct, the club provided immediate and ongoing support to the staff member, conducted a thorough independent investigation of the incident, and took decisive action, the Farms said in a statement. This individual is no longer a member of the Farms Golf Club. The statement made no mention of Mickelson by name, but multiple sources confirmed the individual was him. The club's message was unmistakable. The six-time major winner was no longer welcome. Mickelson's attorney, Tom Clare, responded to the allegations with a statement that was as defiant as it was carefully worded. There is a great deal of misinformation circulating, Clare said. Phil has retained defamation counsel and is determined to hold accountable any publication or individual trafficking in speculation or false rumors. Clare went further, claiming that video evidence contradicted the allegations, but the club's investigation had already concluded. The damage was done. The man who had once been one of the sport's most beloved figures was now at the center of a scandal that threatened to destroy his legacy. The Farms incident was not Mickelson's first brush with controversy. In 2016, he was named as a relief defendant in an insider trading case. In 2023, his friend Billy Walters published a book claiming Mickelson had wagered more than $1 billion over 30 years. But this was different. This was personal. This was about conduct that crossed a line that no amount of money could erase. The revocation of his membership at the Farms was a public humiliation, but it was also a warning shot. The sport's governing bodies and private institutions were no longer willing to tolerate behavior that violated their standards. And Mickelson, who had spent his entire career pushing boundaries, had finally pushed too far. The Golf Digest report was devastating, but the Scratch report by Alan Shipnick that followed was even more explosive. Ashley Perez, the estranged wife of fellow live golfer Pat Perez, alleged that Mickelson had made unwanted sexual advances toward her at the 2015 Barclays tournament. According to the report, Mickelson had invited the Perezes to stay at his private villa near Liberty National. While Pat Perez excused himself to use the restroom, Mickelson allegedly took out his phone and showed Ashley a nude photograph of himself with an erection, flexing his bicep. He then suggested she visit his bedroom later that evening. Ashley, who was 27 at the time, said she felt groomed by Mickelson's frequent text messages. She said, "I was young and innocent." The allegations were detailed, specific, and deeply troubling. They painted a picture of a powerful man using his status to pressure a younger woman into an unwanted sexual encounter. And they raised questions that the golf world had been avoiding for years. Mickelson's attorney, Tom Clare, denied the allegations. He said, "There is a great deal of misinformation circulating. Phil has retained defamation counsel and is determined to hold accountable any publication or individual trafficking in speculation or false rumors." But Ashley Perez was not backing down. She spoke publicly about her alleged encounter with Mickelson, sharing her story with the world. She said, "I felt groomed. I was young and innocent." The timing of the allegations was devastating. Mickelson was already reeling from the Farms Golf Club scandal. He had already lost his sponsors. He had already been forced to withdraw from the Masters, the PGA Championship, the US Open, and the Open Championship. Now he was facing allegations that cut to the core of his character. The golf world was stunned, not just by the allegations, but by the silence that followed. Mickelson did not respond directly to the Ashley Perez allegations. He did not hold a press conference. He did not issue a statement. He simply retreated further into the shadows, leaving his attorney to fight the battle alone. The silence, as it turned out, was the most telling response of all.
The silence from the Mickelson camp had been deafening for months, but when Phil finally spoke, his words were not an apology. They were not a denial. They were a warning. They're walking away because they know what's coming. The sponsors were not just leaving because of the scandal. They were leaving because the entire model was broken. Rocket Mortgage had been a tour partner for 13 years, including 8 years as the title sponsor in Detroit. After nearly 13 years as a PGA Tour title sponsor, including 8 years in Detroit, 2026 will mark the final Rocket Classic, tournament director Mark Hollis announced. The Charles Schwab Challenge, one of the most historic stops on the tour, was facing an uncertain future. Travelers, which had been the title sponsor since 2007 and had extended its partnership through 2030, was being forced to confront the same uncomfortable questions. But the chaos wasn't just about tournament sponsorships. The scandals surrounding Mickelson had cost him personally. KPMG, his longtime corporate sponsor, ended its relationship with him. Amstel Light followed suit. Workday said it would not be renewing its contract. Callaway paused its partnership. The sponsors were walking away, one by one. And yet, through it all, one person remained steadfast: Amy Mickelson. Through a spokeswoman, she issued a statement that she would continue to support him with extraordinary grace, with unwavering love. Throughout their 35-year relationship, his wife, Amy Mickelson, has supported Mr. Mickelson and their family with extraordinary grace, unwavering love, and the belief that people are measured not only by their failures, but by what they do to make them right. The golf world had expected Amy to walk away. They had expected her to finally have had enough. Instead, she had done something far more powerful. She had stayed. And in staying, she had reminded everyone why she had always been the strength behind the man who had once been the face of golf. Mickelson's warning was not just about the sponsors. It was about the entire structure of professional golf. The purses were too high, the fields were too thin, the returns were too uncertain, and the players who had once been the tour's greatest asset were becoming its greatest liability. The golf world was stunned, not by the sponsors leaving, but by who is warning them about it. Phil Mickelson broke his silence as sponsors walked away from the Travelers Championship, and the golf world is absolutely